We have got some breaking news regarding the war in Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like our alcoholic Secretary of Defense went all the way over to Brussels to have a meeting with NATO world leaders where he told them that the United States and Ukraine would be capitulating and that Russia would make zero concessions and Ukraine would never return to its former borders. Hi, welcome to the Valenti VOD. I'm your host, Chris Valenti. Before we get started, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below, hit that notification bell, and donate $7,000 to me. Now, before we get started with the breaking news regarding Pete Hegseth's conference and then his press briefing right afterwards where he immediately walked back all of the bullshit that he said, I wanted to play this for you just to remind you about who our leader is and what he said.
I'll end that war between those two countries in 24 hours. It won't even take that long.
Well, that didn't happen.
I will get the war ended. I'll stop all of those lives from being wasted and lost. And there'll be no more bombing of Ukraine. There'll be no more bombing of Russia.
Oh, remember that? Remember when he was pretending to be a peaceful dove and now we have like 4 different wars looming? Well, it looks like the way that Donald Trump was planning on ending the war in Ukraine was by forcing Zelensky to just appease and bend the knee to Vladimir Putin. So our alcoholic Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, he went all the way over to Brussels and he gave this long-winded speech. And you know, it was incredibly long, but there's just a small bit of it that I want to cover for you.
And I appreciate the opportunity to share President Trump's approach to the war in Ukraine. We are at, as you said, Mr. Secretary, a critical moment. As the war approaches its 3rd anniversary, our message is clear. The bloodshed must stop, and this war must end. President Trump has been clear with the American people and with many of your leaders that stopping the fighting and reaching an enduring peace is a top priority. He intends to end this war by diplomacy and bringing both Russia and Ukraine to the table. And the U.S. Department of Defense will help achieve this goal. We will only end this devastating war and establish a durable peace by coupling allied strength with a realistic assessment of the battlefield. We want, like you, a sovereign and prosperous Ukraine.
Uh-huh.
But we must start by recognizing that returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective.
So we're just going to give up entirely on the Ukrainians having their sovereignty and we're going to settle with giving the land to the Russians? Is that because the largest natural gas deposits outside of Russia are in those 2 areas, Luhansk and Donetsk, those areas of Ukraine? Is that what we're doing? Are we just handing it to the fucking Russians? Is that what's going on here now, Pete?
Chasing this illusionary goal will only prolong the war and cause more suffering. A durable peace for Ukraine must include robust security guarantees to ensure that the war will not begin again. This must not be Minsk 3.0.
Well, that's exactly what's going to happen, Pete. And you said it yourself, I believe, on Fox News in like 2022. You said that if we give Russia a ceasefire, Putin will take that as an opportunity to rearm himself and prepare for phase 3 now, phase 3 of the Ukrainian invasion, where he finally takes over Kiev. And I do assume that that is exactly what's happening. I hope you guys know that fucking Putin is laughing in the Winter Palace right now.
That said, the United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement.
Yeah, the reason why the United States thinks that Ukraine joining NATO is unrealistic is because Vladimir Putin says that's a no-go. And Donald Trump is Vladimir Putin's baby back bitch. Right? And that's not to say like the bullshit Russian interference plot or that like Donald Trump is a Russian asset, but Donald Trump, he fantasizes about being like Putin. He talks about loving Putin all the time. Same thing with like President Xi and Kim Jong-un. He wants to be a totalitarian leader like that, like Putin. He doesn't view Putin as an enemy.
Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5.
So essentially what you're saying is the one piece of land that Putin wants is also the one piece of land that NATO will not defend. You are just simply capitulating. And now the thing is, guys, I'm not the only one who noticed this. He was directly questioned because after this fucking nightmare of a press briefing, of a conference, he ended up doing a press briefing, and he was asked directly if the Russians are going to concede anything after all of this fighting, or if they're just winning, and he absolutely refused to answer. So let's play this real quick.
You have focused on what Ukraine is giving up. What concessions will Putin be asked to make?
Quick step.
Well, I would start by saying the arguments that have been made that somehow coming to the table right now is making concessions to Vladimir Putin outright that we otherwise, or that the president of the United States shouldn't otherwise make. I just reject that at its face. There's a reason why negotiations are happening right now, just a few weeks after President Trump was sworn in as President of the United States.
Yeah, and why is that?
Vladimir Putin responds to strength.
Did you just check your notes? Did brother just check his notes to say Vladimir Putin responds to strength? Wait a second.
There's a reason why negotiations are happening right now, just a few weeks after President Trump was sworn in as President of the United States. Vladimir Putin responds to strength.
Dude, how ill-prepared for this fucking press briefing are you that you needed to look at your notes to say Vladimir Putin responds to strength? And also, that's not what's happening. Vladimir Putin is responding to weakness. He sees the weakness in our fat, blubbery mango Mussolini, who has a fucking dog leash around his neck with Elon Musk walking him around Pennsylvania Avenue, okay? Vladimir Putin sees that, and he's utilizing that as a moment to get Trump to capitulate. Stop sending weapons to Ukraine, so you'll save a lot of money, comrade, if you just stop sending money to Ukraine and let me have the areas of Luhansk and Donetsk. And that's exactly what's happening, and you're his little fucking puppy sent out to the world leaders at Brussels to honestly just be the cuck. You're the cuck of the week, man. Trump is sending you out to do the embarrassing thing that he doesn't want to do himself. I'm sorry, Pete.
In 2014, he invaded Crimea, not during the presidency of Donald Trump. Over 4 years, there was no Russian aggression from 2016 to 2020. In 2022, Vladimir Putin took aggression on Ukraine. Once again, not...
You have focused...
Once again, not under Trump. That's what he's saying. Yeah, you want to know why he kept on doing that? It's because he and Trump are buddy-buddy. They had an agreement. Little agreement. Not going to do anything when you're the president. That way you don't have to take any aggressive actions towards me. We are good friends, Mr. Donald. Now, we have a article here from Politico covering the fact that Pete Hegseth, he pretty much immediately started reining in all of his demands on Ukraine practically as soon as he was done with this meeting, like within 6 hours. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Thursday pulled back some of the peace deal concessions he demanded of Ukraine a day earlier, including no NATO membership for the embattled country or return to its pre-war borders. So you heard everything that he said, where he's like, you're not returning to your pre-war borders, you're not joining NATO. And now, 6 hours later, he says, everything's on the table. They might join NATO. Maybe they'll return to their borders. Everything's on the table. He made no mention of any conditions on Thursday, hours after President Donald Trump and Russian Vladimir Putin spoke by phone about a potential peace deal. Hegseth's initial comments and the phone call infuriated European allies, who took it as a sign that the United States was sidelining Ukraine. Hegseth said definitively on Wednesday that the United States would not accept NATO membership for Ukraine or provide peacekeeping troops, and warned the country would not return to its pre-2014 borders. He also said NATO peacekeeping troops in Ukraine would not be covered by Article 5, a bedrock principle of the alliance that declares any attack on one nation is an attack on all. So, Pete Hegseth, at the behest of Donald Trump, is doing exactly what Trump said he would do during the campaign. slowly but surely removing the United States from NATO, saying, hey, we're no longer going to defend Ukraine. And any NATO troops that are defending Ukraine, if they end up being attacked, because, you know, Putin said he might attack them, we're not going to defend you. Article 5 is out the fucking window. Guys, I hope you understand one thing. America is strong because of its allies, not in spite of our allies. If we lose our connections in NATO, we will no longer be the strongest nation on planet Earth. This is why, you know, we got RFK, you know, he's getting confirmed. Every single one of Trump's nominees is going to get confirmed because the death of democracy is indeed upon us. However, we will never stop fighting. I will never stop fighting, and I need you to never stop fighting. All right, so that calls it for this video, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, share this video with your friends. I know it's a short one, but they can't all be fucking half an hour long. Thank you again, and have a good one.